So here we are. What is it, 2 days later or 1 day later?
2 days.
2 days.
Yeah.
And you wrote me and you said you and Mrs. Marble may be parting ways soon or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that the fill me in.
Okay. I would say these events dictated my whole life afterwards. In terms of self-esteem and, I don't know, depression and all sorts of negative stuff. And finally I have the feeling that that's over. So it's very new.
Okay, now, let me explore that a little bit. We only dealt with one specific event, and there were many, 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 many with Mrs. Marble, okay? And I would think, but you have to fill me in on this, that things that contribute to self-image issues, depression, would not be just Mrs. Marble.
No.
There would be other contributors as well. Mm-hmm. Is it your view that our one event with Mrs. Marble, although we did it with some thoroughness, these are my terms, kicked the center out of that self-image issue?
Yeah, almost.
Uh-huh.
There's one crescendo to all these events. And it's I tell my mother and she does nothing. So that was the final death of little Patricia, I would say. It felt like a death because when I told her, she didn't react. So if we could kick that one, that would be...
Well, my dear, we can work on that one now if you wish.
Oh, that'd be super. Thank you so much.
But I want to get some understanding first before we do that.
Yeah.
Okay. You say your mother said nothing. Is this because you told her about the slap from Mrs. Marble, or it's a ongoing theme your mother doesn't react?
Well, if I describe the background, I would say my mother was a teacher too, a primary school teacher, and she had 5 kids, busy, and at that time I felt she was in a sort of a cloud of depression. That was... My brother doesn't think so, but that's the way... I didn't really have a good contact with her, I felt.
Uh-huh.
So I told her, I was 9 when I told her, I was nearly out of the class because a friend of my sister's witnessed it and said, you have to tell your mother that's not right. Okay?
This is about a slap from Mrs. Marble.
Yeah. She was in our class for a day, our teacher was sick. It happened, I saw her shock. And then she came to me at the end of the class and said, tell your mother it's not right. Now, why I hadn't told my mother until then, I don't know. I think I dreaded the fact that she wouldn't react.
Okay.
So I decided to tell her. I'm in the hall, I'm nervous and stressed about saying it. She's watching TV. I sit beside her on the couch and I say, Mum, Miss Marble is hitting me. And she said, is she? Very surprised. And then she said, Patricia, you'll soon be out of that class. And that was it.
Okay, hold on a minute. I'm actually going to write that down.
Oh, okay.
Patricia, give me the words again.
You'll soon be out of that class.
You will soon be out of that class.
Yeah.
The reason I'm writing this down is because I intuited from the way you said this that is the crescendo moment. When she says that, you're saying to yourself something like, I don't count, something's wrong with me, I'm unlovable, I'm whatever that means. Yes?
Yeah, it was huge. It felt like double up. I got this crazy teacher who I seem to trigger, and my mother doesn't care.
Okay.
But she did, for example, if my brother had a problem at school, she was always up at the school saying, put him at the front or at the back or whatever the problem was.
Okay.
So it's not that she wasn't capable of doing it, but she didn't do it for me.
Okay. And so it adds to, if I'm remembering the words correctly from last time, the fact that there's something awful about you. Is that still the right word?
Yeah. something wrong.
I'm writing this down. Okay. So, just to make sure I'm understanding now, when you go back and revisit the Mrs. Marble's slap that we worked on,
Yeah.
that and a lot of related things seem to collapse with it as far as self-image is concerned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, your self-image, these are my terms, feet on the ground are much more solid today than they were when we started.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, now. So a remaining piece of this is, now you go tell your mother, and your mother, basically waves it off. Okay?
Yeah.
Meaning, yes, you are awful. No, you don't count. Self-image stuff and all of that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I don't think we did this last time, but I do want to make sure if we didn't, we do it now. Logically speaking, I'm speaking of logic, not your emotional response now. Like if you were on a cloud someplace looking down at today's Patricia, do you see yourself, or would that person on the cloud see yourself as someone who doesn't count, someone who is awful, someone who's unlovable, etc.?
No. Not really.
Okay. And so why do you say that?
Well, I would say that the roll-on effect, I'm starting to get emotional now, which I'm a bit afraid of all this, has been that you make bad choices. And it has led to a lot of relationships where you're attracted to a bullying type. Mm-hmm. So now I'm finally moving out of that, so this couldn't come at a better time, really.
Okay.
So it's been compounded by bad choices after that, I would say.
Well, okay. So you've made some bad choices. Well, okay. I hope you don't feel totally unique in that. Because I don't know anybody who couldn't sit down, including those listening to us, by the way,
yeah.
who couldn't sit there and say, well, all my choices were perfect.
Okay.
But I want to get back to my other question. My other question about logically, is there something awful about you, unlovable, you don't count, etc.?
Logically, no.
No.
I'm not really confused.
I'm presuming you have friends and you don't run around from rejection to rejection all the time and all this kind of thing?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right. However, you have an emotional response that is quite different. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And that's what we work on. That's what we work on, is your it's always your emotional response. Actually, it's never what happened. It's never what happened, like Mrs. Marble slaps you or your mother ignores you or that kind of thing. It's never what happened. We can't even change that. It's always your response to it that we deal with. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we dealt with your response to Mrs. Marble's slap. Okay. And apparently took a big chunk out of this my self-image sucks kind of response. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we got one left that we know about. Okay. And it's not that mother ignored you or what she said. It's your response to it. So, getting back to this specific event, your mother said, Patricia, you'll soon be out of that class. Okay. Now, we're kind of repeating myself, but I just want to make sure we're accurate. Your response to that was, yet more evidence that I am awful.
I can tell you exactly what I thought.
Please.
First of all, I felt huge anger, and I thought, if you don't care about me, what about all the other kids that she's going to slap? Was my first thought. I couldn't believe that if I'm not worth it, surely somebody's worth it.
Yeah, okay.
And then, after that, the conversation was over. She went back to watching the TV. And then I went out into the hall, and this is where I felt this feeling of my heart falling in. I didn't understand it, but I remember the exact feeling. It sort of closed in a sort of a chasm. That's the way it felt.
Your heart falling in.
Yeah.
Okay. As you say that, do you have any recreation of your heart falling in right now?
A little bit, but I'm a bit emotional. The heart has always felt a bit scarred.
Oh, okay. Well, it would be nice, and we may not get that done with one session today, but a heart that feels always scarred is the kind of thing that comes about from specific events in our life that aren't resolved, like we're dealing with. Do some more of them, and after a while, this my heart is scarred kind of thing, doesn't need to be there. Okay.
Yeah.
It fades. So, okay, with all that in mind, let us, well, first of all, we're going to do a little test. So, close your eyes for me, if you would, and revisit, there you are, 9-year-old Patricia, you're visiting your mother, you're telling her about the slap, and your mother says, Patricia, you'll soon get out of that class. You've got your anger, etc. Get into it and tell me on a scale of 0 to 9, what number do you get to now as you bring it up?
9.5.
Why not a 9.6?
Well, maybe.
Okay, how do you know you're a 9.5?
Because it's not quite a 10, but it's very close.
Yeah, but how do you know you're even that high? Is there a physical sign or something?
Yeah, I want to cry, and I'm trying not to. And it was so painful.
All right. Okay. So we got our before measure, okay? Mm-hmm. So, all right, close the eyes, and we'll bring an unseen therapist, and we'll do our little thing here, okay?
Okay. So I just turning off the phone. Okay.
All right. And we're going to relax a bit, so take the deep breath, maybe. And shift your focus to that loving moment you're used to, and nod your head when you're there. All right, good. Good. Okay, now shift your focus to there you are, 9 years old. Mrs. Marble has slapped you. You're at home. You're going to talk to your mother. You're going to tell your mother about it. You're hoping, she's going to somehow respond, do something, if not for you, at least for the rest of the kids or something. I mean, you were hoping for something. And she basically waves it off. And she says, Patricia, you'll soon be out of that class. You have anger about that. You go in the other room, and you have a sort of a heart falling sensation going on. This is your response to all of that. And so now that we have sort of put the issue on the table, we're going to bring in unseen therapist. Unseen therapist will come in. And will sit next to you. And is going to talk to you and help you with your response to this. We don't know what was going on in your mother's mind. We don't know whether she really cares or not. Maybe she doesn't. We don't know that, okay? But she has her reasons for whatever they are. Maybe she didn't take it as seriously. Maybe she didn't hear it the way you wanted her to hear it. We don't know, but the important thing is your response to it, and you are justifiably angry. And that causes a falling in your heart. This is your response to it. An unseen therapist looks at that, and while we're going to be quiet in a moment for her to speak to you some more, I'm going to make a suggestion or two. And that is that this is your response, and while... Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I don't know. Should my eyes be open or closed?
Yeah, no close. We're still doing all this, okay? Okay. So unseen therapist is going to be talking to you, and perhaps the topic would be understand your anger. Yes, at age 9, under those circumstances, yes, anger. But Patricia, why are you still angry over something that happened decades ago? That's costing you. And see, you're too young at age 9 to really know what's going on, to really know where mother's coming from, or whether or not she cares or even has the ability to care. That's outside of your control. The only thing we need to do here is talk about your response to it, and this falling in your heart, as though this response by your mother is going to make your heart fall, maybe for the moment, but for decades thereafter? Don't know about that. Anyway, that and whatever else unseen therapist chooses to bring up, we'll just let her loving light sort of go over the whole situation, including your mother if need be. We'll do that for a minute. I'll help you, and we'll talk then. Okay, give me an update. What went on?
She felt very, I could feel she was inaccessible.
What was inaccessible?
My mother.
Oh, your mother was inaccessible. Okay, yeah.
And that it would have been better to have insisted. I just said this, and she said, just to be out of the class, and then I left it. But I could have insisted so that she heard me better.
Okay.
Is the feeling. It didn't really land with her.
What you said didn't really land with her. That's how you're seeing it now?
Yeah.
You didn't necessarily see it then?
No.
Okay.
It took me all my courage to tell her. So I couldn't go any further. I'd used up all my courage. So it was...
Oh, okay. All right. Well, just so I understand, is what you were saying, is that a form of freedom from the event or just something that came up?
Yeah, it feels a bit more distant.
Well, let's do a little test. Close the eyes. Go back to that. There you are, 9 years old. There you are telling your mother. There you are. She is saying what she's saying. You're angry, falling heart, all that kind of thing. Get into it and tell me if you're still a 9.5.
No. 4 or 5.
4 or 5? Okay. What makes it a 4 or 5?
I'm frustrated. And in fact, now I see myself saying, oh, for God's sake, wake up. I need your help. Do something.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Important point for me to make as a teacher. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from that, and I've heard this kind of thing over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But you have to reflect back to make sure I'm accurate. Okay.
Sure.
Is that the issue of the anger and the falling heart and all of that actually fell to 0 or to some very small number and got replaced by a related issue, now frustration, because you really wanted to go back and say it to her, et cetera, okay?
Yeah.
And that's a different issue. The frustration is not anger and falling heart.
No.
That's why I like to often ask the question, what makes it a 4 or 5? You know, whatever you got to. Okay. Now, am I correct on that?
Let me think. Yeah. I feel exasperated, but not damaged.
Okay. Do you feel angry or have a falling heart feeling?
Yeah, a little bit angry.
Now, angry at what? Your mother? At you for not speaking up more? Angry at what?
At her for just sitting there and not reacting.
Okay. And what number is that?
2.
Well, we'll do a little bit on that. Close the eyes. Okay. The deep breath, get a little relaxed. And nod your head when you have the loving moment. Okay. Now, we're going to bring in unseen therapist. Or no, we're going to focus on this event again. Okay, there you are, and she's ignoring you basically. Okay, waving you off, and you still got a 2 anger about that. Okay, she ought to pay attention to you. After all, you are her daughter. She's supposed to do that. Okay, but she doesn't. You don't like it. Chances are you're angry because, and this is Gary's guess. Okay. Because you don't like the idea that you don't count anymore, and that makes you angry. Okay, that's why you may not be so much angry at her, although it seems that way. The anger may be also contributed to by the fact that you just pinched me in the I don't count, place. Okay, I don't like that. Okay. But whatever, it's angry. We're angry. We're angry. Unseen therapist comes in. Understands the anger. Yes, okay. Great. But let's bring a little piece of it. You don't need this decades later. Okay. So we're going to take a little minute here. We're going to let unseen therapist do what she's going to do, bringing peace, bringing love to you, your mother, whomever. And I'll see you in a minute. All right. Go back to that scene now and try to get angry and tell me what happens.
I feel compassion for her.
Compassion. Well, describe that if you would. Compassion. I mean, why? I mean, she just did you in. Okay.
I know.
Why the compassion?
Because I can see she's suffering in some way.
Chances are, yes. I wasn't there, but chances are, yes.
She was depressed, I think. I don't know if it was ever diagnosed, but there was that heavy feel about her.
Yeah, and that, we're never here to excuse somebody else's behavior. We are here sometimes to understand somebody else's behavior. There's a difference, okay? And so if one is dealing with depression or dealing with some inner stuff that you as a 9-year-old have no clue about whatsoever, and maybe maybe her husband and the rest of her family, nobody knows what we keep inside. She's dealing with that, and now you come up with this one, and she can't add that to what she's dealing with. I'm making all this up, but this is the kind of thing that can happen,
Perfectly plausible, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, go back to that scene again. Go back to where you said you were 4 or 5 frustrated. All right. Close your eyes. Go back there to the 4 or 5 frustrated. Get yourself frustrated again, and let me know what happens.
I can't get it.
You can't get the frustration, or you can't remember the memory, or?
I can't get the frustration. The frustration's gone. I just feel, I can see her pain.
You can see her pain.
Yeah.
Okay, now, see, that's really, really, really important in this process, because there's dynamics that go on that tend to be beyond our awareness, like what somebody else is feeling and what somebody else is really going through. And what love can do is a Band-Aid, is a repair mechanism to all of that. And now through all of that, you see your mother through a different set of glasses. And when you do that, not just academically see, but I'm getting you genuinely see this. It's a form of forgiveness. That's a new term here, but yes?
Yeah. I wish I could tell her. It's too late now.
I forgot. Is she dead? She died?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, what else can we do today, my dear?
Well, that's already a whole lot. I'm speechless, really. I don't know what to say anymore. It's dictated my whole life ever since, and it's evaporated.